Cultivate yourself, expansion of your consciousness, interconnection of myself with the source essence. Third eye shining like the sun, spirit luminescence, realize the true self. Divine mind manifesting, I priest in the body, temple, God resurrected, Kundalini, jet pillar, Osiris, I'm representing. Restore the primal human, inner self-restoration, ritual alchemy of change, sitting in meditation, daily life inspired by spiritual contemplation. Purify my mind, universal sound, cosmic vibration. Listen to this track on repeat. Positive affirmation, life is 7 candlesticks. I'm talking revelation. Build the body temple, light body aspiration. Travel in the astral realm, shamanic exploration. Become the universe, mind open, no limitation. Stargazing full time, cosmic travel, I'm navigate. All things material is just a manifestation of the cosmic force. Constant transformation, ancestors taught me this, yeah, that certification, got the whole world within me, I'm a fucking civilization, man, in the essence of higher education, keep your mind right, and your focus stay elevated, stay elevated. Peace, greetings everyone, this is Ras Timotheos, High Priest of the Temple Divine. We're here with Brother Elijah Ekwesi, High Priest of the Temple Divine as well. And let me see, get my camera up here.
Yeah, your camera.
Peace, everyone. We're back.
Peace. How's everybody doing out there? We got a powerful presentation for y'all today, man. So, we're going to get into it, man.
Yes, we are. And today we're going to be speaking on a broad number of spectrums dealing with metaphysics. And, the discussion in particular is what is the metaphysics of the Tower of Babel? What is the metaphysics of the Christ man? And also the metaphysical interpretation of Genesis 1, or the first chapter of the book of the Bible. So today we'll be discussing the parable of the Tower of Babel itself, as well as the metaphysical interpretation of the book of Genesis, as well as the metaphysics of the Christ. So the questions to answer today would be, what is the Tower? Who is Babel? And what is the metaphysical significance of the parable itself? And what is the metaphysical interpretation of the first book of Genesis? And forward to the metaphysical interpretation of the Christ. So who is Jesus Christ? What is the Christ? And how is it understood from a metaphysical perspective? So this was an overview of just a couple things we're going to be touching on today. And we are definitely going to get into the information. So no more waiting. And also, thank you guys for tuning in to the last ones. Those of you who tuned in and watched all the way to the end, we appreciate it. We know it's a lot of information. At the same time, we want to put it together so you guys can come to one place and just get the stuff firsthand. Another thing I also want to mention is stay looking out for our next projects. We are going to be coming with multiple videos sharing this information. Another thing I'd like to mention before we start is that our information, our perspective may not be the perspective that you have now, and it may not be the perspective that people near you have or people close to you, your relatives, families, and friends. But I want to emphasize this. Just because you haven't experienced what we're about to speak about yet, that doesn't mean that there isn't a possibility that it can exist or that it can't exist. So I like to just put that out there. We're not coming from a perspective saying that we have all the answers to human problems. But what I am going to say is we have experience in what we're talking about. We have experiential knowledge from the experiential aspect instead of the intellectual. So us sharing our intellectual, we are sharing a part of our practices, a part of things we have had firsthand experiences ourselves with. So without further ado, Let's get it. Let's get it in. Let's get into the science. So the metaphysical understanding of the self really is what we're speaking about. Now, I'm not sure where we're gonna begin here,
Yeah,
and
I'm gonna begin with the metaphysical breakdown of Genesis,
okay, yeah, we can start with that,
chapter 1.
and then if you guys have any questions, comments, anything you guys want us to answer, put it down into the question box below, the question and answer box below. And we also have a Facebook page. Check that out, the Temple of the Divine, facebook.com. I think that's what it would be under the link. Just go into Facebook, type in Temple of Divine, and it should pop up right there. You'll be looking for a picture of what seems to be the universe, but it is nothing more than a brain function, synapses in the brain. So look out for that type of picture. And also, before we start, like I said, questions and answers. We want you guys to put that stuff down. Questions and answers, anything relating to the metaphysics, spirituality, and all the above. So let's get it.
Most definitely. All right, so peace, love, and light. Namaste to all the human beings out there. And what we're about to do is we finna break down this book of Genesis, and decode these things like what we went into in the last videos about is it an allegory, and we broke down that what allegory means. So once we get the understanding of what allegory means, we understand that these texts, or this text in particular, is not to be taken literally. You understand? So and it's encoded for a reason. And we're gonna do another video where where the Bible comes from in the text, and how it's a part of other many different books that came out of ancient Egypt. You must understand that. All right. So it says, before we continue with our metaphysical decoding of the King James, you want to go get the King James version of the Bible, or any other version at that matter, and follow along as I break this down metaphysically. So everything that I say, you should look up. When I mention Hebrew words, just type in the Hebrew word for what I'm about to go into. All right. So it says head in the Hebrew is Rosh, which is spelled Rosh. This is in the modern Hebrew for all those want to be specific about it. It can also be translated as top, or first, or beginning. In the first chapter of Genesis, the line in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, can be translated to in the head created heaven and earth. Oh yeah, by the way, before I start, brother, if you have anything to say when I'm going into it, you can stop me at any time, and feel free to expound if you want.
Okay. Yeah, and I was going to say, you mentioned Ras, or Rosh. These are Rosh is a Hebrew word, and Ras is the perspective in which you get Ras Tafari, which comes from the Amharic word, which also means head or chief, or it also means prince as well.
Mm-hmm. So it says translated to in the head, in the head, in the head. God created the heaven and the earth. And it says to clarify what earth means, earth is a place where things grow from and where things are buried. The human imagination. It is all it is the birthplace of ideas and concepts. It is also the burial place of the same. It says, remember that the Bible and all the related texts is a metaphysical guidebook detailing your origin and different states of consciousness, awareness you will experience on the way to recognizing and using your true power. It's the individualized biography of every being or conscious awareness. Let's return to it now. So now that we got that covered, that the Bible is a metaphysical a guidebook for you to understand how to become aware of your own awareness, and this consciousness is you. Each and it we see we tend to look at ourselves as individuals, but we're not necessarily individuals because we're all a part of the same collective consciousness. You must understand that. So it says chapter 1 of Genesis, and we're gonna start at let's see. See, where's the part? Genesis chapter 1, and it's gonna start at verse 11. Genesis chapter 1 and 11. It says, God said, let the earth bring forth grass, and the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. It was so. So also metaphysically, you wouldn't take that literally and say, oh, something outside of myself told me, something outside of myself created this. No, it is let the imagination bring forth concepts and ideas. Why? Because the the birthplace in which, see, you got to understand, when we say God, we're talking about yourself. We're talking about the self. We're talking about that awareness in yourself. That's what we're talking about. So it says so when you create an imagination within the mind, and a mind, this mind, whatever mind it is, it will bring forth. It first starts in a thought, then you will manifest it in the physical. So it says, let the imagination bring forth ideas, and the earth brought forth grass. Continuing to read on, and the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after its kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after its kind. God saw that it was good. The generation of concepts and ideas born forth from imagination. So that's why they wanted to separate you from your childhood, because when you was a child, you was creator like. You had that imagination. Like I remember I was telling brother, I used to, when I was young, I used to go outside with a football helmet and would actually see myself playing in an actual game. And I was playing, tossing the ball to myself and everything. So it's the imagination. You got to get back to your imagination. The fantasy world or the dream world is the real world. The fantasy world. There is no such thing as a fictitious world that you create in your mind. No, it's real.
Right. And another thing I wanted to mention while you're speaking about that is even the fact of the idea of saying, well, this world is illusory, or this physical world is not really physical. A lot of people like to take
Right.
that concept and they don't fully understand that in the light of the metaphysical concept. They want to take it,
Right.
physically look at it with their mundane eyes. And that's not what we're talking about. We're not saying, well, everything you can touch, taste, and smell is false. Well, what we're saying is our perception towards these things in the light of metaphysical cultivation should be under the premises that the physical world is not the true reality. The true reality is above and beyond this world. Just to
Most
clarify
definitely.
the metaphysical concept. So when we say self is God, it's a metaphysical concept. We're not talking about some man in the sky. We're talking about
Most definitely.
metaphysical principles.
And I'm gonna quote Morpheus from the Matrix. He said, "Is this real?" He said, Neo said, uh, are we really in a computer generated program? Is this really a program?" He said, Morpheus said, "What is real? How would you define real? If you're talking about things that you can see, taste, or touch, then real is just electrical signals interpreted by the brain. So you can't really define the word real because anybody, you ever been in religion and they have a statue of Buddha, or they have a statue of Krishna, or they have a statue of Jesus, they would swear to you that that image got up and talked to them. But it's the perception on which who's saying what is real or not. This person can say, well, this cell phone is real. It's real. I know it's real. It got up and talked to me, and I worship this. So it's electrical signals interpreted by the brain because you make what you want real. That's the whole. That's the whole thing. You make what you want real. But when people talk about how we're talking about metaphysics, and they say, well, how can you say that's real and this is not real? Well, anybody, you can say what you want, is real or not, but we're not here to convince you, to tell you that what's real and what's not, because it's, again, it depends on the individual. But metaphysical speaking, that everything that's happening in the spiritual realm or the celestial realm is what manifests in the physical. Everything in the spiritual take place. Everything that's spiritual, uh uh everything that's spiritual manifests in the physical. So it would behoove you to deal with what's real first, and then realize, okay, I deal with what's real first, and then deal with the physical last. Just like you might say, the deal your inner world is a reflection of the outer world.
And what we're speaking on is more ancient thought. It's more not primitive, because primitive actually inclines that we're talking about primate or some kind of underground primate. We're talking about high level beings. We're talking about high technology beings. So the spiritual thought in that time. See, when we look at the ancient time, we're like, okay, well, oh, they built out of stone, but they've built things out of stone that we cannot even replicate with the technology that we have now. So, so that's just a perspective. But the other perspective I wanted to say is that this is an ancient thought. It's ancient in the sense that it was used in the Buddhist, the tantric, and you can
That's
go
right.
miles and miles on speaking about different mystical cultivational traditions. But what I'm speaking on is the fact that the way we're explaining these things to you, the viewer, is is a way that one can understand how to implement the principles of meditation or metaphysical practice, whatever it might be. You see what I'm saying? And so what we're trying to do is lay the foundation so one can understand how to go through that process intellectually, mentally, so then they can be able to relate that to experience. Now, so like he's saying, it comes down to the perception, the perspective that one has about themselves and the environment, because we all share a different perspective. That's what makes us human. But the whole point of the metaphysics is to take that perception of what you see in the outside and to bring it more inwards, to turn your inwards, your senses inside instead of
Right.
focusing outside.
Yep. Because everything has to do with the inside. If we as a world, if the world today dealt with the inside first and everything else secondary, then this world would be a better place, because we would manifest things that we wouldn't try to project how we feel on something else. If I'm afraid, then if I'm afraid of something, just like we talked about in the first video, that the government, due to them vibrating on the and operating on the ego realm. They feel like, they're fighting something, but they're not. But there's no one to even fight. So you're running from someone, and you're in that survival mode, which is the root chakra. You're in survival mode for no reason. When all these countries, only the only one that's in war, talking about war, is America. Nobody else ain't talking about no war. But why is it that they feel that they have to always be on the defense? You see what I'm saying? So to bring that in perspective. So moving on, it says, "And the evening and the morning were the third day. And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years." Now, when I used to believe in the Bible, I used to think that this was talking about how we got to we got to calculate the holy days from then the moon and then all the sun. No, it's talking about light is the intelligence that operates within the mind. Now, all of you that will view this video and that are viewing this video now, I want you tonight, when you go to sleep at night, close your eyes and just breathe in and out, in and out, in and out. And I guarantee you'll see flashes of white light or lights inside of your head, in your mind. Why? We did a breakdown the other day. Brother Ross did a good breakdown. Matter of fact, also too, before I finish that thought, uh, talking about the fantasy world, go get a book called Dreams and Other Realities by Wendy O'Flaherty. Get her book, and she will break down the whole dream and the whole dream world, the fantasy world, and all links in with the reality. But anyway, um, you'll see spectrums of light within inside of your own mind. Lights. So in that beginning, you will see the very beginning essence in your own faculties, higher faculties of thought. So it says light is the intelligence that operates within the mind. Intelligence separates consciousness, awareness from non-consciousness. The lights of intelligence provide degrees of unfoldment, seasons, days, years, degrees of, or which means degrees of consciousness. So you'll see your true consciousness, whenever your eyes are shut. And it said, "Let them be for lights, and in the firmament of heaven to give the light upon the earth." It was so. So you can break that down, is consciousness also coupled with intelligence bathes bathes the concepts and ideas sitting in the earth of imagination, and encourages them to grow. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the subconscious and the conscious mind merged together. Therefore, you're one with the divine intelligence, and you're able to manifest things. You're able to get to be one with the unit, with the cosmic, the cosmic mind, the universal mind. When you merge those two things together, it's no different from if I said uh, Set, Battle, and Heru, your lower self and higher self. The ego and your true self merging together.
Now, bro, are you
Same.
speaking about two physical brains coming together, or are you talking about conceptually, metaphysically?
I'm talking about conceptually and metaphysically, because the brains, you have a left and right brain hemisphere. Now we're so used to operating on one of them without the other, but that's how we understand ma'at, or balance, is if you deal with both sides. But it's not literally talking about putting your getting cutting out somebody's head, taking one brain and putting it together and smashing it together. No, it's talking about your thoughts, and you're aligning your thoughts with your conscious mind, meaning that logical aspect that a lot of us men and women today tend to think on when we try to rationalize things like that doesn't make any sense. How does that make sense? So you have some people that think like that, but then they can't understand the intuitive side, which is the metaphysical side, which is the feminine side. First and foremost, the divine mind is feminine.
Right.
It's not a woman, or that's why we like to see a lot of people like to call it God, or they like to call it a man, a male.
We're
See,
speaking principalities,
yeah, we're speaking on
principles.
principles. Just like the Netzeru and Kemet, there wasn't necessarily gods per se that you worship, but their concepts and their principles. So that's another thing. A lot of people, when they get into this knowledge, they think that, oh, so you mean to tell me you worship Ra or you worship it? No, these are celestial. They're celestial bodies, and Roth Timotheos broke that down before. So it says God made two great lights. Now check this out. I want you to pay very close attention to this. God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. And he made stars also. The conscious and the subconscious, the conscious mind rules the day. It rules the day. It helps you navigate during the day. And the subconscious mind rules the night. So while your conscious mind, figure things out in the daytime, it figures things out, figure its awareness around and say, what's this, what's that, what's this, what's that. So then when you go to sleep at night, that greater light, the lesser light, because it's and necessarily I wouldn't call it a lesser light, but in a sense of that's the light behind the scenes. You follow me? So it's the light behind the scenes that rules the night. You can take this back to Prometheus. Prometheus, hold up. Cause see, y'all got to see this mythology real quick and tie this mythology in. Hold on, real quick, bro. While I get
Uh-huh.
this real quick for the people.
All right. So while he's getting that, I want to expand a little bit. So the light of the day, or the greater light, is more like things recognizable by the mind, the conscious mind, things that are recognizable by the mind. That's the light of the day. So then the light of the night would be things unrecognizable by mind, or things that you don't necessarily need a reminder of because you're not really paying attention to those things. And what we're saying is the awareness within and of these lights. How does the mind recognize? Awareness. So what we're speaking about is the light of the day and the light of the night. Awareness of the day, awareness of the light, awareness of those things that are recognizable to the senses, and awareness of those things that are unrecognizable to the senses. So there's also another thing to understand, that there's a such thing as the greater and the lesser mysteries. Now, that's a different lecture in and of itself, but it goes into the same concept that we're speaking about, an aspect of duality that should come together for the holistic perspective, for the holistic awareness, you see? And let's see if I can go into a little bit of what he was talking about before, going into the metaphysics of just Genesis first. And that whole aspect, I've studied the whole aspect of Genesis, the metaphysical understanding, as well as the normal secular understanding of it, the secular interpretation. And I found that if you look at these things, without the spiritual eye, just like we're speaking about, one has to see spiritual things with spiritual eyes. So if you look at a book that was written specifically in code form describing spiritual things with a rational mind, you will then look at these things like, oh, I don't get that. I don't understand that. So now let's understand why when we go to look at any religion in the world, or faith, or some type of spiritual practice or study, the philosophic aspect, we get lost in the whole explanations of things as far as that is concerned, because we're not, our minds for one are not focused on that naturally to see the spiritual, and that's why those things are written in the forms that they are, so that we can relate to them. And but instead, your conscious mind, what it does is it wants you to recognize things, so it automatically attracts those things in which it recognizes, or those things in which it's familiar with. So familiarity actually is what's keeping you in lockdown mode as far as your metaphysical growth. So you wonder why you can't do this or you can't do that. It's only because, one, your perception, and two, because you're not allowing the full capability of the mind processing to take into account. You're not allowing the light of the day and the light of the night to both rule in consciousness. See? So we get lost in the one aspect of things. So therefore, the whole other aspect that we don't understand becomes something, that we hate, or that we dislike because we don't understand it. That's the simple fact. Most things you fear you only fear them because they're not recognizable to your senses. They are not recognizable to your conscious mind. So naturally, your conscious mind wants to take you out of that mode of harm's way. So when we're speaking about the light of the day and the light of the night, we're speaking about the union, the power behind that light. What is the radiant power within the light and of the light? And when we say light, we're speaking about wisdom. Again, like he spoke and mentioned before, when we say light or illumination, anything that to be illuminated, even the word Illuminati, what does that stand for? The ones who have light. So, but the real true illuminated ones, not illuminated, because ill means not, if you want to get into the etymological standpoint, or the etymology of the word. But to be illuminated is what we're speaking about. We're speaking about illumination, what the sun does in the sky, what all of these objects in the sky project or portray or represent. Light. So now, if we understand the self in the physical body, you have, guess what? A greater light and a lesser light. So this greater light then can be termed in what we were speaking about, the conscious and subconscious mind. Now, I also want to mention, if you have questions, again, please write your questions out here in the question and answer box, or put them in the Facebook, our Facebook page, Temple of Divine on Facebook. Add us there, and put your questions and comments, whatever you want there, and we'll try to answer them today on this live broadcast. So actually, I'm going to go there now. If brother over here has what he was looking for.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
And it says that let's see, I'm gonna skip in all this. In an effort to help humanity again, managed to seal fire. So this is the story of Prometheus. So it says Prometheus, in a effort to help humanity again, managed to steal fire back to give it to humans. More enraged, the father of gods asks Hephaestus to create Pandora, the first woman who, according to Hesiod, would bring troubles to mankind. He also punished Prometheus by having him chained to a rock, where an eagle ate his liver during the day, and the liver was regenerated during the night due to Prometheus' immortality. He was later saved by the demigod Hercules. So what I wanted to show in that, what I wanted to show in that, can you hear me, bro? Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah. What is to show in that is the regeneration of, metaphysically speaking, when you want to talk about something that turns on or activates at night, that is the pineal gland. It gets activated at night. So metaphysically, you can look at that in multiple ways, but one way you can look at that is by his liver regenerating at night. I mean, out of all days, why does it have to generate at night? Come on now. Out of all time, why can't it generate in the daytime?
Right. Yeah. Yep.
It regenerates at night. Why? Because that lesser light rules the night. Or like we broke it down occult style for you in the last video, talking about Lucifer, the son of the morning, or that star.
Hmm.
So we ain't even gotta go deep into that, but and just to get um familiar.
Yeah, I'm
So
checking out Facebook right now, so y'all better put what you got
so
it your questions down, and we got you.
so it says star. So it says the conscious and subconscious. One when awake and one when asleep. Stars are the light of intelligence. It says God set them in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth to rule over the day, over the night, and to divide the light from darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. And God said, let the water bring forth abundantly the moving creature that have life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. So it says, let the waters bring forth. So metaphysically, let the light, let the waters of thought bring forth individualized truths. Creatures, meaning what? Inspirational dreams and spiritual ideals. Fowl is in the mind or heaven. So these creatures, for example, it's not necessarily have to do with an animal or this and that. It could be the things that you see in your imagination. So whatever you think is true. For example, if I go to sleep and I manifest myself into an eagle, or I manifest myself anything I want. So basically you manifest anything in your spiritual ideas in your own mind, and you can create the concepts in which you're going to live by and mold yourself by in the mind. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of people might say, well, bro, how can you tell me God ain't real? I seen God. I seen God, in my sleep. I seen an angel and I seen this. No, based on your belief system, you will manifest that which you believe in your mind. So it says God created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after their kind. He saw that it was good. Meaning, metaphysically, the act of creation of individualized truths, whales, and inspirational dreams and spiritual ideals, winged fowl, which is that's what the winged fowl it represents. It says, and God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let the fowl multiply in the earth. It says the act of injecting thought with truths and sending inspirational dreams and spiritual ideals into imagination. So, what does that mean? You have the ability to create your own spiritual truths and see them in your dreams or in the real world or in your fantasy world. That's why the book in the Bible in Proverbs say, as a man thinketh, so is he. So as you think you are, you are. So you see what I'm saying? So that's the whole thing that even in the movie Matrix, he was trying to get him to understand is that, Neo didn't think that he was the chosen. He didn't think that he was the one in the first one. But he was saying that it's not in your technique because you don't think that you are the master. So therefore, you're not the master. That's why that woman or the oracle, she gave him a reading. She gave him a reading, and based on him not believing in his own self, he couldn't be the one. But then he used that when he said when the oracle told him that, and then he actually he had to catch that girl in the plane, and then the plane, and then the thing, the glass didn't shatter. That's when he started to think, I am the master. I am great. So you basically create your own ideals and your spiritual truths, and you manifest them in the dream world. So if I think that, I'm a shaman priest, and I'm gonna manifest that in my dream. So based on your belief, you'll see it in your sleep. So if I think if I think God is white, I'm gonna see a white God appear to me in my sleep. That doesn't mean that it's true. That just means that you have the ability to create that which is in your mind. You see what I'm saying? So it says, in the evening and the morning were the fifth day, and God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after its kind, cattle and creeping thing, and the beasts of the earth after its kind. And it was so. So basically, this represents, let the imagination bring forth truths. Let your imagination bring forth truths. Again, let your imagination bring forth truths. The act of an idea becoming a truth or belief. What does that mean? The act and idea becoming a truth. So you can become the truth of your belief. You create your own concept, and see, that's why it's and see, you don't create your own concept and a belief when you are um, making subscriptions to a particular book and saying that, oh, I can't know. It's what do you believe? Because in this book, it tells you to not think on your own. Because if you think on your own, then that's not the will of God. So it has you going by a manual, as if you need it to tell you what's right and what's wrong. So the act of an idea becoming a truth or a belief. You got something to say?
I'm just listening, bro.
Oh,
This
true.
you going in. We got some followers too, some viewers. And so those of you guys who are viewing right now, please post any questions, comments that you guys have. Anything that you guys want us to touch on while we're going through this. We'll be here for a couple, so let us know what's on your mind. We're here to communicate, and so, like I said, just let us know, and we got you.
Most definitely. And picking back up in Genesis, I met and God made beasts of the earth and after its kind, and after its kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after its kind. And God saw that it was good. It says the creation of truths and beliefs born of imagination. So whatever you imagine, you can bring forth that into the physical. It says, and God said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and all over the earth, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. The act of following individualized. Hold on, bro. All right. Hello. All right. Now I'm back now. So it says the act of allowing individualized consciousness to think and contemplate and measure, just like the parent and non-local multidimensional conscious event. Individualized consciousness now has the ability, pay very close attention. Individualized consciousness has the ability to create its own truths. I'm gonna say that one more time. The act of allowing. So this is what this means when it says, um, God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and all over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." So the act of allowing individualized. So this is basically like the one, the source energy separating itself into microorganisms, right? Microorganisms. So even though, so each individual is a microorganism from the one, separating itself to experience itself in a 3D dimensional plane.
Right. And actually, when you look at the idea of cosmologically structured things, just like I mentioned, the universe is just a representation of the structure of the synapses in the brain, just
Yes.
the exact representation. So your cells are the exact representation of this primordial force that comes into existence and the physical, just like brother was saying. So when you actually really understand these metaphysical concepts, you can see how they link up into the physical world and how the physical world comes from that existing primordial mind. Um,
So
yeah, go ahead, bro.
so as you see, picture this as being the one, that mental. So basically what we're talking about is we're talking about beginning, Genesis, the beginning of what? Atoms and protons. Atoms and protons. Can't they separated themselves. See these little atoms and protons, uh all these things, nitrogen. Then you got your neutrons, then you got your electrons, then you got your neurons. All these things are micro intelligences.
Right, their microorganisms are micro universes in upon themselves. So one atom of carbon contains how many electrons and neutrons? You see what I'm saying? That's how many universes are existing within that one particle we call carbon, that one particle we call hydrogen, that one particle we call oxygen, so on and so forth. The four basic principles that make up our body, you know,
Yes.
and the four principles that make up the earth. Ask yourself, why is Yahweh four letters when you break it down? So we're talking about the four principles of being, the four states of cosmic existence. You have north, south, east, and west. You have fire, earth, air, and water, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. All of these things create and constitute what we call as life, biology. Biology comes from the word bio, which means life or living sentient organism. So we are speaking about the universe in a microcosmic aspect. That is the
Exactly.
that this is the aspect of metaphysics when you really get into it. All atoms are a sentient living mind that
Hmm.
manifests itself into existence by unifying its mind. So ask yourself why we have so many problems with humanity, because we can't unify our minds like the atoms do, because we have been
Exactly.
taking out of our natural environment. We have been taking out of our cosmological structure, taking on things that are not cosmological, taking on things that are not in the makeup of our elemental body. And I speak about this in my other book, speaking on health, the biochemistry of health. Now, when you understand that you are a fucking universe, and excuse my language, but don't excuse my language because I'm just being real. When you realize that your body, each individual cell that makes up your body is a universe in and of itself, made up of thousands of billions of universes in itself. Now, let me ask you, how many cells, how many tissues do you have in your body that makes up your whole body? You have trillions of tissues. Now, if each tissue is made out of billions of molecules, that are only visible on the tip of a pin, a billion of them, to even be able to see a speck in the strongest microscope. If that's the aspect of what we're speaking about, meta meaning beyond, physics meaning physical, you can see we're going beyond physical, especially because we're speaking about consciousness, the mind, the body, the nature of being, and so on and so forth. You know, what is existence? You know what I'm saying? So when you understand that we are just a reflection, our cells, each cell, each tissue of the body is made up of trillions, if not billions or more, you know, molecules that just make up just that one little thing, which is billions or trillions of universes, billions of trillions of light years existing within each cell, billions of trillions of years, light years of experience in these cells. So when we're speaking on the metaphysics, we're not talking about, well, the sun means this, or the name of this means this. No, we're only defining that representation in the whole cosmological perspective of what we're speaking about. That's because we say atoms don't necessarily mean that we're trying to conceptualize the physical manifestation of the power of what we're speaking about. So the names Jesus, the Buddha, the, you know, anything you can think of, Hindu gods, any deity, any god, any goddess, any name of these principles are nothing more than representations of cosmological principles, cosmic forces that exist within your body and that keep you alive. Fire, water, earth, and you know, the elements. And then you can go into the other elements, elemental aspects, north, south, east, west, and so on and so forth. And this is why we are coming with this information, because it's easy to get lost in just one truth, one understanding, or just one contemplative exercise about it. So not only we're coming from an intellectual perspective, but we're also coming from practitioner perspective. We are practitioners of what we do, practitioners of metaphysics. That's different from interpretation or interpreter of the metaphysical concepts. And even I can even go into the whole metaphysics of Genesis, which I actually might do after the brother finished getting done speaking with what he was going to bring to the table, because actually what I have to speak about is not too far off from what he has to say, both coming from two different experiences. So that's how I know that the metaphysics is beyond, you know, the physical, because me and this brother, we've never met as far as beyond what we came through the spiritual. So now that we have come to the physical understanding, you know, of, you know, that there's another being that is like-minded, then we can come together and create something. We can bring our universes together to then create a whole nother universe, you know, to bring the billions of universal experiences that we have within each individual cells to an understanding in the physical realm, that which an understanding we can use to better live, you know, to survive in a better way. Because if we live like I mentioned earlier, if we still lived according to you know, if we lived according to the principles of this world, like it says in the Bible, I am not of this world, I'm in it but I'm not of it. That's a Buddhist concept. That's a mystical concept of truth.
Right. So it says, picking back up, it says the act of allowing individualized consciousness to think and contemplate and measure. So we have the ability to think and contemplate and measure, just like the parent and non-local and multi-dimensional conscious event. So that's what you're doing in the dream world. You're multi-dimensional beings. That's what you get the term, we're multi-dimensional beings, because we exist everywhere, every dimension. It says individualized consciousness now has the ability to create its own truths and control its individual thoughts. So to understand that we have the ability to think what you want to think. See, that's the thing. We're not here on this camera trying to tell you what to think. You have your own mind, your own decision to think what you want to think, because every human being and every celestial being living in a human form has the ability to do so.
And the whole idea of metaphysics is get to that realm of no thought,
Facts.
to get to that realm of no mind, no self, because that's where true self, true mind, true existence is in the metaphysical interpretation. This is what all, if you really speaking to a real priest will tell you to get out of the church. A real priest will tell you to get out of those socially, politically built constructs and to go off on your own path, the Tao, to go off and find your own path, one with the natural substance. And see, when I speak of nature, I'm not speaking of the physical things, because I'm speaking about the nature of the being, nature of your being. What is the nature of your being? You know what I'm saying? What is the nature of that which you are created of? Not, you know, what your name is. I don't give two craps about what your name is. You probably don't give two craps about what my name is. But what is the nature of your being? That's the substance. And so we're speaking on a substance perspective.
And it says, from its own states of mind, construct its own beliefs, which is the construct is no different from the ego mind, or the conscious mind. So you have the ability to create your own concepts and the beliefs. So what that tell you? If you have the ability to create your own concepts and beliefs, what that tell you? That tells you that you have ability to say, hold on, that's wrong for me to do. So like, for example, that's wrong for me to smoke, but I'm not going to judge you because that's what you want to do. You're your own God. Yes, yeah, that you listen. Yeah, I'm my own universe and you're your own universe. So if I don't want to do it, okay, that's in my realm, that's in my domain, my kingdom. But in yours, I'm not gonna say, hey, you wrong, brother. See, that's the thing. We try to project our belief systems on someone else. That's why you got what? Religion. Because why? That's why you got what? War. Because somebody else is trying to push and project their concepts and beliefs on someone else. So then that someone else would say, hey, you can't tell me what to do. I'm my own God. What are you talking about? This is my domain here. I stand at a 45-degree angle. Stand at a 45-degree angle, masonry style. I have my own. This is my box. I stand in my square. What are you saying? So then, so then that's what you got problem and conflict and war and fighting and violence. But if we go back to doing what we really supposed to be doing, is understanding that it's self, you know, self-reliance, self-sufficient, self-ideas and concepts and beliefs. Matter of fact, that should be the damn motto.
Right, self sustainability.
Yeah,
How to sustain yourself in a biological, cosmological world that
exactly.
is no longer according to the biological, cosmological principles. These principles have changed because of the concepts and beliefs that were imposed on people, taken from other lands and put somewhere else, and taken from their own lands, because a lot of these people that were taken from their lands, no matter what culture you're speaking about, a lot of them existed other places too. So
Facts.
that's just another aspect of metaphysics, putting in a physical, in a historical perspective.
Exactly. So we see it says, and from its own individualized inspirational dreams and spiritual truths. So my dreams is not Brother Ross's dreams. His dreams is not my dreams. Because we're own individual co-creators. You know, his universe. You know, that's why I can't. You know, I think somebody asked me, uh, you know, do we believe in the same God? Well, no, we don't, because we all our own individual creators. So we just meet. See, us, when I met him, we just two gods that, you know, want to collaborate on each other's realm and dimension. So we're making a collaboration in our dimension. You know, my kingdom and his kingdom coming together. When what? You got a super kingdom. So it says, so God created man in his own image, and in the image of God created he him, and made male and female created he them. So and understand that the male and female aspect is masculine and feminine in a polarity of nature, two cosmic forces. It says male is the first construct of the mind, meaning the logical aspect of the mind, which is the conscious part, using substance resulting in understanding the intellect and wisdom. So the intellect and wisdom is the male, is the masculine side of the force. It deals with reasoning and understanding and intellect. Feminine is the feeling of individualized consciousness of 10 thought often thought of as a spirit or soul. So then when you connect yourself with the feminine energy, then that's when you realize that you have a soul part of yourself. What operates within that? Emotion, feeling. So, just because you're a man don't mean you can't cry or use God, because we all have a soul, and you can't suppress that. You can't forget about that. That's why you got to connect to the feminine aspect. The feminine aspect, that don't mean necessarily mean you a woman. That just mean necessarily that you connect to that energy. It's a flow of energy. So you see what I'm saying? So it says, and God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. The equal, so it means the equal ability for both mind, intellect, wisdom, and feeling, the spirit, the soul, to have dominion over the imagination of thought. Take control of your imaginations and your thoughts. Take control of your mind. Listen, we understand that we live in a country to where you got the TV and you got all these things. But what you got to do, you got to say, listen, because see, they don't want to give you your mind back. They want you to stay stuck. Stay stuck. So listen, what you got to do is you got to say, look, give me my mind back. Let me control my universe like how I was designed to do it.
Not only that, um, let's look at it from Buddhist perspective. Buddhism will teach that suffering, the cause of suffering, or suffering in general, is the cause. The cause of suffering is desire, our attachments to these material things that don't last, things that are not forever. Well, what is forever? That's what you got to start to contemplate. What is forever? Because it's not the shit you think is. And the things that you think aren't forever, like death, you think you die, you see where I'm going with this. The Buddhist perspective now, and even goes into the Gnostic, the Christian, the pre-Christian, the real Christian, and so on and so forth, the real Muslim, the real Jewish perspective, is the fact that this material world is not the real world. And we went over this in the beginning. It's not the real world, metaphysically, in a metaphysical concept. Because this world, what samsara is, something we have to free ourselves from. In the Buddhist perspective, samsara is suffering. The cycle, the circle, samsara means circle, to circle or do over and over again, to redo. So when you're caught in this cycle, guess what? Can you escape? Well, that's what this physical material world is. And when we attach ourselves to these things, we just go in a cycle. So then you can understand complete suffering, the understanding that you suffer because you're going through this cycle of samsara. So the whole object of metaphysical practices in general, I don't care what religion or what faith you speak about, it's about the liberation from this cycle of attachment, or this cycle of keeping to the physical, the detachment of self, whatever self you want to say, okay, that is self, whatever you want to consider self. It's that detachment from the material world. And actually that what you think is self is really not who you are at all. It's just the perceptions of who you think you are because of the physical things that you are attached to, which leads to desire, and then desire or aspiration or expectations that you have of this physical world, such as, well, I'm a teacher, I'm this, I'm that. That's the role you choose to play in that world, is the attachment you seek in that world. So therefore, from the metaphysical perspective, we must liberate ourselves from this attachment. We must liberate ourselves from our material sense conscious desires. And that is the aspect of Buddhist perspective of samsara and even moksha, liberation from samsara, are also called nirvana or nibbana for that matter. So even in the Buddhist perspective, we can understand this in a deeper light or in a shallower light, depending on how you choose to view that. Now, go ahead, bro.
So now we finna get into the Tower of Babel.
Okay, before we get into the Tower of Babel, I want to mention to you guys, if you guys have questions, comments, put them in the question and answer box, and we will come with you guys with the information which we deem is necessary. And Facebook, Temple of Divine. Let's see what else. I was gonna go into my breakdown of chapter 1 Genesis, and then we can go into the Tower, because you know we're gonna bring you guys information today. This is information class. This is you know, hopefully you guys are taking notes. If you didn't, this video is going to be posted on YouTube, so you'll be able to go back and blah blah blah, so on and so forth. So before we get into the understanding of Babel, or the Tower of Babel, we're going to get into my understanding of, or my interpretation of, the metaphysics as far as the Bible and Genesis, and then we'll move on to the Tower of Babel, and then we'll get into the Christ, what that means and what that entails. And so, like I said, any questions, comments you guys want to mention, we'll be able to see them, and we're looking forward to your interaction. So, okay, Genesis. So, as we went through this already, now I'm going to give you another explanation or another understanding in which you can take for your metaphysical growth and practices. So, Genesis 1:1-5. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was waste or without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that light, and that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness, and called the light day, and the darkness night. And there was evening, and there was evening, and there was morning, one day. So, to understand the creation of the universe by God, again, to understand the universe and the creation of the universe by God, we must know something about the character of God. Jesus said, so if we're going to understand this book, so we have to go into what these things are saying. So this Jesus principle says, God is spirit. So does that mean that he's somewhere standing around striking the ground saying, this is it? That's a lot of the interpretation we get. But Jesus himself, in the book about Jesus, he said himself, God is spirit. Now, historically, who knows if Jesus even existed? Now, metaphysically, Jesus represents a concept, which we are going to get into. So, with this understanding, the creator of the universe is a spirit, a non-physical entity, a non-physical consciousness, right? So the works of this God, he said, Jesus, were done in him, or in Christ Jesus himself, and through him. So, in quote, the Father abiding in me doeth the works. So that God is an intelligent force, always present and always active in the virtual conclusion of all philosophers, thus corroborating the statements of Jesus. God is eternally in his creation and never separate from it. So let's look at the physical body. If God is a spirit and it's never separate from whatever he created, guess what? You're no separate from God right now as we speak. So what's limiting you from seeing that or realizing that? that cycle of material attachment, that cycle of attaching oneself to things that are not, to things that are temporal, to things that are not forever living, eternal. And what's forever living or eternal? Good question. Now, God is eternally in his creation. There's that word again, eternal. God, spirit, is eternally in its creation and never separate from it. So whenever there is evidence of creative action, there is God. Universe. This is the metaphysics now. So God, what is God? Spirit. What is spirit? God is mind. He is created through his word or his idea. And this is the universal creative vehicle. It is plainly stated in the first chapter of Genesis that God said, Spirit said, or metaphysically, the higher self said. So what did the higher self say? That's a good question. So Jesus corroborated his creative power of the word or the idea again and again. He said that his words were so powerful that if we let them abide in us, we might ask whatsoever we would and should do and be done for us, right? So what, if this higher power exists within us, so we might ask whatsoever we would and it should be done to us. So whatever we ask, because we are the spirit, because we are a creative expression of this creative action, which is the mind. Therefore, like I'm going to ask, who's creating? It is plainly stated in chapter 1 of Genesis. God said, Spirit said. So, therefore, Jesus said that his words were so powerful that if we let them abide in us, we might ask whatsoever we would, and it shall be done to us. Power of the mind and creation. That's what it's speaking about. Say what you want. Let it be done. That's what he's saying. And he's saying only this because he knows that the spirit exists within you. So say what you want and let it be done, because you're talking about the divine creative mind. That's what God is. Metaphysically, God is a divine mind. And if you go to my other videos, you can see this explanation. And you can hear me speak. God is the divine mind. Or I will say, realize the divine mind. Why? Because I want one to get out of the aspect of the sense-conscious perception of the material realm, to raise or to take upon that Christ man which you are, the Christ woman which you are. So, God creates through the action of his mind. Who is God? So God creates through the action of his mind, and all things rest on ideas. The idea back of the flower. So if we took a flower and I said, what is the idea of this flower? And I showed you this beautiful flower. What is the idea behind this beautiful flower? If you answered beauty, then you are correct, because the idea that it's held in back of the flower is beauty itself. Okay, so the idea in back of music is what? Balance, harmony, rhythm. So the idea back of day is what? Light, or the dispensation of intelligence, light, wisdom. So we spoke on this earlier. Now what I'm doing is I'm just letting this become an understanding instead of being something intellectual. So this is the whole chapter in the statement of the creative ideas involved in the universe. Remember, each cell, each tissue of the body is a universe, cosmological structure containing multiple trillions, billions of cosmological structures within it. So whatever the mind commands to be brought forth will be brought forth by and through the law of evolution inherent in being. This applies to the great and the small. In the mind, there is but one. You always hear this metaphysical concept. Be one. Be one. Be water. Be water, my friend. What is that? Bruce Lee, right? Be water. What is water? One substance. So in mind, when you go into mind, when you go in towards your mind, there is but one. And actually, when you actually realize, when you go into your own mind, you realize yourself, you realize the universe realizing itself. So therefore, there is nothing but one cosmological structure, one universe. Your body realizing that it's one organism instead of billions and trillions of universes. When you go into the mind, you realize that you are one universe, including the universe that you find yourself in. So when you go into your own mind, there is but one universe. And we all exist in that one universe. This is a higher understanding, a deeper understanding. So what is the first step in the waking of man to the spiritual consciousness? The first step in creation is awakening of the man to the spiritual consciousness. We said this. The drawing of the light in his mind, his perception of truth, through the quickening of his spirit. Light is wisdom. And the first days of work is the calling of the light or wisdom into expression, physical expression. So light represents intelligence and darkness represents the undeveloped capacity of light. Darkness. Darkness is also the misunderstanding of the light.
That's right.
Because darkness.
That's why. Oh, just to make a quick comment, real quick. That's why it says in Genesis. That's why it says that darkness can't comprehend the light.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's a black hole in space that light can't escape. Mm-hmm. Because the darkness is light, but it's a not comprehended light.
Right.
So I just wanted to add that real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I totally agree. And these symbolically represent day and night when you're reading the Bible, biblical story, just day one, day and night. We just went over what that represent: light in the mind and undeveloped capacity of light in the mind. Symbolically, day and night. So now the word, you always hear this in church, the word, the word of God, right? The word of God in this instance stands for Elohim or Elohim, or that which is created out of that which is the substance, the source of the seven principles, the seven cosmological structures outside of you and inside of you. So, which is God in his capacity as creative power. Now, what is that? Including himself, all the potentialities of being. Self. The beginning indicates the first concept of the divine mind. But let me tell you this, from the perspective of understanding, well, that would be the Bhagavad Gita. So from the perspective of understanding the Krishna concept, the soul is never born, so can it die? Good question, good answer. You answered right. No, it can't die if it's not born. And if you are your soul, guess what? I'm not even going to get into that, right? So the word in this sentence stands for Elohim, which is God in his capacity as creative power, including himself and all the potentialities of being. But remember, we said we don't want to say him or her because this is a principle. We're not speaking of some man somewhere or some woman somewhere. Speaking about something in you, that's where. So the beginning indicates the first concept of the divine mind, creative mind. To be created means to be ideated, or to be able to be in terms of an idea. So to be created means you just thought of an idea. I'm a self-published author, and so is brother, and we understand this aspect as far as those books are nothing more than a creative expression of the mind, just like music, just like art, just like dance. But all these things once used to be a spiritual concept. Why? Because God created the heavens and earth is a metaphysical concept in and of itself. So to create means to be ideated, or to be able, or to be created into an idea form. So the heavens is the realm of ideas, and the earth represents the ideas in expression. Manifestation of the physical mind, manifestation of the spiritual mind into physical reality. So heaven is the idea, and the earth is a mental picture. A comparison is found in the activity of our own mind. We have an idea, then we think it out, a plan, before what? Before we can bring it forth into creation. This metaphysics, baby. This is it. See what I'm saying? So now, not it in the sense of that's all you got to do to understand metaphysics, or that's all physics has to deal with. No, that's not what I'm saying. This is it as far as this expression of the heavens and the earth. Ideas and expressed ideas. So what is the physical body then? A representation of the earth, or the expression of an idea in the divine mind in the heavens. How not? Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to be in existence from the metaphysical perspective. If mind is the creator and mind is all, then who creates self? If mind is the creator and mind is all, who creates self? So did man create earth? Did God create man and the earth as they appear today? Let's see. We can already understand this, So, so by period, God created that which produced the suns. I'll read that again. So by periods, God created, the divine mind created that which produced the suns, and that which produced the earth. But the earth was unrecognized and empty. This can be found in science. And darkness covered its convulsive surface. But the breath of God vibrated all over its fluid face. And from this, we are able to understand that God created not the earth as it appears, but that which produced the earth. Elohim, spirit, creates the spiritual idea, which is afterward made manifest through what is known as Jehovah, or God, the four principles of being. Now you're starting to pick up. It's not hard to understand. These things are very simple concepts when you are in the meditative understanding, when you are living a meditative life. And I'm not just sitting there saying, "Oh, I'm doing this all day." No, that's a form of meditation, but you can walk and meditate. So moving forward. So I want to get into all of this, but as you can see, it's very deep. Each word has a significant meaning. So you know what? Let's just keep it right there, because we already went into this stuff, and if you got the first understanding of it, then you're on the right track. But what the understanding of Genesis is talking about is the fact of creation, the bringing forth genes, biological genes, biological structures of the cosmos. That's what we're speaking about. How the cosmos was created. How did the cosmos, the waters of the cosmos, come into being? And that actually goes into the firmament. It established that of a firmament in the midst of the waters, dividing the waters from the waters. These waters represent an unexpressed possibilities or potentialities in the mind. So that there must be a firm standing point or foundation established before one can even produce anything out of the possibilities of the mind. That's the power of what we're speaking about here. So this foundation or firmament is faith, the substance in which you use to believe. Like we were just saying, you create everything you believe. So it's your belief. It is your belief that is the firmament. Moving upon the unformed capabilities of spirit consciousness. So the divine logos, the word in Greek word, God, that's creative power inside of you, gives forth to the edict, let there be firmament. The first step or day in creation or manifestation from the light of the mind involves light or understanding. And the second step is faith in knowing the quality of the mind. So the word is instantly filled in spirit, and God made manifest, and the divine mind made the firmament. This does not refer to the visible physical realms of forms, but in the mental image in the divine mind, which deals with only with ideas. Ideas, heavens, which only deals with the heavens. So spirit only deals with the heavens. Divine mind only deals with divine thought, divine action, divine speech. And that doesn't mean, oh, because you said shit or bitch or fuck. That doesn't mean that those things are negative. They have a negative connotation depending on the context, but there's that you can use these terms to mean something positive. So, and we're not even going to get in that. But in every mental state, we have an above and a below. Above the firmament are the unexpressed capabilities, or the waters, the noon, if you understand the Kemetic concept, the noon, the waters of noon. So of the conscious mind, resting in faith or resting in that substance to which even allows you, no matter what you want to believe, but that substance which allows you to even have a belief on even who you are in the physical is faith. But this waters is the conscious mind resting in the faith in the divine mind. So below the firmament are unexpressed capabilities or waters of the subconscious mind, the light of the light of the day and the light of the night. So now let's see. Okay, I went over that. Like I said, I don't want to get too detailed with this stuff. But the greater light in the mind is the understanding of the lesser light. The greater light in mind is the understanding, and the lesser light is the will, your willpower. The greater light rules the day, or that realm of consciousness which has been seen illumined or illuminated by spirit, the heavens, the higher self. The lesser light rules the night, that is the will, which has no illumination, light or day, but whose office is to execute the demands of understanding, whether it's light or day. So the will does not reason. Your will, the willpower itself does not reason, but it's the harmonious reflections of the harmonious relation or relative acts which are easily and naturally existing upon the inspiration of spirit. So divine will expresses itself as the I am in man. So when we speak about the Christ, we're going to get into that aspect. The stars represent man's perceptive faculties, including his ability to perceive weight, size, color, sound, and the like. What are these? Olfactory, gustatory, blah, 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 blah. Those are products of your sense consciousness, your touch, taste, smell, feeling, So through concentrating or centering one's mind on any of these faculties or stars, your star codes. Oh, okay, now you understand. Your stars, at its vocalizing point, one may come into an understanding of how they're acting or how it's going to act. So the divine mind's first images or imagines the idea, then perceives its fulfillment. So it perceives what it's going to look like or what it's going to be when it's done, its fulfillment. And so man acting in cooperation with the divine mind when he realizes his higher self, places his own self under the same creative law and creative force, thus brings his ideas into manifestation. So ask yourself why you live the life that you live. Man must speak what he is before he can be what he is. And really, he's only reflecting on what he already perceives himself to be in the future, which is what we're speaking about. So now you have to access your star codes, your perceptive faculties, and control your own perceptive faculties, how you see light, how you see life, how you see your life, how you see how others people's lives interact with yours, how you see your innerverse, your universe interacting with other universes. These are your stars. Again, going back to the 7 principles we mentioned in the other videos, these 7 principles of man, the 7 chakras, the 7 star codes. There's 12 star codes in the sky. There's 12 representations of those stars on your cranial nerves. That's what they're called, the 12 cranial nerves. Now ask yourself why you have 12 physical expressions of those nerves, called the 12 different bodies that you have, or the 12 different biological organs: the lungs, the brain, the heart, the liver, the intestines, or the digestive system. We can look at these in the systems: digestive system, respiratory system, endocrine system, blah, 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 blah. These are your stars. See, we like to look at the television, and we see on the television, and language is one of our problems, which is why we're going to speak on the Tower of Babel. But language creates the perception that we are all different. Language creates the perception. Language creates the perception, and your perception creates your experience. So from that, we have to have that understanding. Your perception creates your experience. So however you determine you are going to perceive something, whether it's good or bad, that's your perception, and then you will then manifest that and live by that. So to continue, so then we can get to this Tower of Babel, I want to go into, let me see real fast, 2 seconds. Like I said, if you guys have any comments, questions, or you guys want to add anything, we will see it and let us know. We appreciate, the viewers. We appreciate you guys coming in, tuning in to our live broadcast here. And we have Facebook, Temple of Divine. You can ask your questions there as well. So, okay. So we know that there's 6 steps in the creative process. The 6th step in creation, skipping over the other ones, is the bringing forth of ideas after their kind. So when you create anything, the reason why you see expressions of those, you can look in anything else you do and you're like, oh, I did this, or oh, that's what, yeah, I like that. It's because you're creating things and the ideas after their own kind, which then manifest themselves. So when man approaches the creative level of his thought, approaches his higher self, he is getting close to God in his consciousness. And then the realization that he is the very image and likeness of his creator dawns on him. Very metaphysical concept right here. This is the consciousness in man of Christ. So in the next part, we're going to be defining the Tower of Babel, and then we'll go into what the Christ man is. What is this? What is Jesus in the metaphysical interpretation? Oh, trying to get things situated here. All right. 1 second.
Yeah, peace.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna oh, it's my turn now.
Yeah, and your camera's off. So but yeah, I just finished up that part. I just finished off my short metaphysical interpretation of that Genesis. So we can go into the Tower of Babel.
Okay. Now let's get into it. So I'm gonna be reading out of Genesis chapter 11 and verse 1 through. It says, "Can you hear me clear?"
Yep.
All right. It says, "And the whole earth was in one language and of one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinear, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. They said, Go to, let us build, let us build, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and tower which the children of men built. And the Lord, behold, the people is one. And the Lord said, so this is what the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore the name of it Babel, because the Lord did there confound their language of all the earth. From thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of the earth. So as you can see, you know, uh, God made them more confused, but they was one. They would have had unity. So what does that sound like to you as the reader when you read they had unity? But this God made them confused even more. He confounded their tongue. Now, we finna break this thing down metaphysically because it has a lot to do with once you're climbing these towers. What tower? We're talking about. Do you have an image of the chakra system?
Yep, I got one.
Show that real quick,
Okay.
because it's really important because it's real important, man. For them to see the whole chakra system, because as you're climbing these towers, a certain blockage will come. And when you're climbing these towers, when you get blocked, and stopped, then that lets you know that something or energy force is blocking you from reaching to the mountain. I'm gonna use a Greek term.
Yep.
When you're climbing to the top of Mount Olympus, because why? They didn't want Prometheus to get back to Mount Olympus. So now, you have anything to add?
No, I'm just getting some pictures that they can look at so they can see what we're talking about. I got a whole bunch. um, I'm going to show the aspect of qigong, and then I'll show you the regular chakras.
Well, definitely. So when you're climbing to the top, you will get a certain blockage, and this blockage, they want to try to stop you from getting. Remember, back in the other video, I said that it says that. Hold on, let me get it.
Mm-hmm.
It says, this is Genesis 3 and 5. It says, "For God doeth know the day that ye eat thereof. There your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil." Genesis 3:22. And the Lord God said, "Behold, the man has become one of us." He's
Read
become.
that again, bro. Read the that paragraph again about he's become one of us, because that's pretty powerful right there. People need to really contemplate on that concept. What he's saying there is, I'll let you explain it, but just that understanding that, you know, we're not speaking out of our butts here. You know, this is stuff you can look up. You know, this is stuff that you can really come to the contemplative intuition. You don't even have to contemplate. But so I'm gonna show you guys some pictures of these chakras, or these energy centers in the bodies. So go ahead and just do it from Google. That way, I'm pretty sure you guys can look it up on Google too, but just for the sake of this presentation.
So it says in Genesis 3:22, and the Lord said, "Behold, the man has become one of us, to know good and evil. And now lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever." So as you can see, you know, they don't want you to become equal to them. So the whole thing is to get you to not be on one accord with your own self, with your soul, and to continue to be ignorant of the place in which you have to do and the place in which you have to go. So, so now you can see the whole chakra system right there on the screen. You can see those. That's the Tower of Babel right there. That's the tower. Once you reach to the top, they know that you will be one, and they know that you will um become more mighty and powerful than they. So you got to understand this thing from a mythological standpoint, and you got to understand, you got to put all the mythologies together to understand what's the whole deal with you being trapped down here in the physical body.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole key is to not get you to not get you to the enlightened state, or the enlightened state that you're supposed to be in.
Yeah,
Because
that's
once
right.
the Kundalini energy raises to the top, excuse the noise in the background. Once you get to the top, you will understand, and you will see. You will be as gods, and you will know all things, because you will be connected with the with the uh, with the one.
Yep, that's right.
So that that's all I want to say on that right there.
Okay, so now I'm gonna go into the metaphysical understanding of. Let's see here. Stop this. 1 second. So for some reason, this thing cut me off. You still there? It says it's still live, so I hope we're still here.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Yeah, for some reason, it's trying to get me up here twice. I think because I pulled up that screen, but it's all good. Still here. Then you guys are holding out and waiting for us. Technical difficulties here. Still trying to figure out how this technology crap works. So the Tower of Babel. Okay. Now, I'm going to kind of break it down just like I did a little bit of the Genesis. So Tower of Babel. This is the 11th chapter of Genesis, and is the allegory. Again, allegory does not reveal its meaning until one ponders it more deeply than the causal reader really does. So on the surface, it seems to be a story of a collective failure, right? But careful study of it in the metaphysical way is actually worded, reveals something a little different. True, there's a type of failure in the story, but in a way, a total failure. To build a tower means to attempt to raise in consciousness, just like the brother was just mentioning. To build a tower means to attempt to raise in consciousness. So the metaphysical understanding of Babel is Babel, Hebrew word for Babylonia, or gate of Bel, court of Baal, confusion, chaos, vanity, nothingness. A city in the land of Shinar, or Chaldea, built by Nimrod, great-grandson of Noah, Genesis 10:10. So it's also a tower that was built with the city, with the intention of being to make the tower so high that it would reach to heaven. It was where that confusion of tongues took place, and men began to speak different languages according to the Bible history, Genesis 11:1-9. So metaphysically, Babel signifies the name. It signifies the name that means confusion. So when man thinks that in outer or purely mental and psychic ways, he can comprehend and contact the divine. Confusion is always the outcome. It is only through the inner spirit of truth that he can come into touch with and gain spiritual truth and perfection of poise, peace, power, all good. What is known as the kingdom of heaven is within. So what is the metaphysical definition of Bel? Well, Bel means Lord. So is the Aramaic form of Baal. See Isaiah 4:6 or 46:1. Bel is mentioned in connection with Babylon and refers to the Babylonish god. Jeremiah 52 and Jeremiah 51:44. It is not certain whether it was the planet Jupiter or the sun that was worshipped under the name Bel. Bel, however, is virtually the same name as Baal. Baal, Lord, Master, possessor, owner, guardian, a husband, love, Jove, Jupiter, the sun, is a generic term for God in many of the Syrian-Arabian language, the Syro-Arabian language. So Baal or Baal is the Lord or Master, the possessor, the owner, the guardian, the husband, or Jove, Jupiter, the sun. So metaphysically, Baal means Lord, and it was the besetting sin of the ancient Hebrews to apply this title to things formed instead of the formless, i.e. things in the physical instead of the spiritual. This tendency is still prevalent, and not merely among the Hebrews. All concepts of God as less than universal mind are Baal. Those who believe in a personal God are Baal worshippers because they make an image of that which is without body parts or passions. They should learn to go back to the realm, to things of the realm of things that they may come in touch with God, who is spirit, mind, cause, omnipresence. Baal worship was the form of nature worship. All people who study materiality and seek to find in it the source of existence are sacrificing to Baal. This is strictly intellectual, but there are those of the soul plane who think that they are spiritual because they feel the throb of nature and join in all her moods. They are closely aligned to the whirling dervish and dissipate their soul substance in the various forces of nature or the sense consciousness, which they are in love. Such persons must do away with Baal worship and call upon the life fire of the spirit to consume every material phase of sacrifice. Baalim and Asheroth represent the nature in its various sensuous aspects, sense consciousness. All the hosts of heaven, see Deuteronomy 4:19 and 17:3, are the sun, moon, and the stars and the 12 signs of the zodiac. When we fall into the evils of Manasseh, 2 Chronicles 33, 1 through 13, we think that the planets and the stars rule over us and that it's necessary to pay them a certain degree of homage or worship because of their influences. Some people in this day have great faith in their ruling planets and think that they are bound to certain traits of that character because they are born when those sidereal bodies were in the ascendancy. They are forgetful of the power of God within them and so are brought into condemnation. Why? Because they are believing in the physical things instead of those 7 principles: the stars, the sun, the moon, the planets that exist within the inner self. The inner universe is what we are speaking about. So just because someone says, well, to be one with nature, really that is a metaphysical concept to say going beyond the physical understanding or the physical makeup of nature and getting into the non-physical makeup of nature, which is the substance of nature itself, that which brings nature into being. So it's not the worship of nature that makes one spiritual. It is the realization of the spirit that formulates nature that makes something spiritual. So Genesis chapter 11, the Tower of Babel. We read this, and so let me just go into the metaphysical interpretation, which actually even with the understanding that I just gave can be interpreted powerfully. Like I said, I want to really go into this. So let's see here. Well, I think my internet crashed, so I don't have what I had up. So basically, the Tower of Babel is going into understanding a higher state of consciousness, getting back to the realm of who you truly are. Now, and this parable was written 2,000 years ago, so we can't really have a direct understanding of the writer's perspective on why they wrote it and what they were wanting to express. But we can understand is that when we speak of a tower or something building up to heaven, and with our metaphysical understanding, we can already see that it's speaking about building a higher state of consciousness, not so much an actual physical building all the way up to heavens, whatever that means. So now I want to go into the aspect of I want to go into the aspect of the Christ now, which would be the last perspective of our interpretation, metaphysical interpretation of today. And as you can see, I have these packets here that has all the information that I've been wanting to bring here and touching only on a little bit of things. So let's go into this here. So see, last time where we left off was Israel. Now, I was going to say I was going to speak on Judah, but I'm not really going to speak on Judah yet. But I am going to speak on the Christ. So, what is the metaphysical meaning of Christ? Matter of fact, let's bring it back a stage. What is Jehovah? Right? Jehovah is a Hebrew word, meaning he who is, or he who is, who was, who will be manifest. That's the whole definition of this name. He who is, who was, who will be manifest. The self-existent one. He is he who is eternal. In I am that I am, the absolute verb remains the same, but the prefix changes from the manifestation to power. He to I. The word for word rendering of the original would be I am, I was, I will be, because I am, I was, I will be the power to be eternally. I. That's what this meaning is. I am, I was, I will be, because I am, I was, I will be the power to be eternally I. Remember, go back to that Buddhist perspective of no self. So Jehovah is one of God's names as given in the Bible. Now, when we refer to names in the Bible, remember, they're representing principalities, and the characters are not necessarily real characters. They are principles within us and within the universe. So cosmological principles of that which we call the essence of being. So anytime they say a name, well, Jacob's name was changed. Why? Because he had a change in consciousness according to the story in which he wrestled. You see what I'm saying? That wrestling was, and him overcoming, supplanting that wrestling was him coming into that name change, or that change of consciousness. So why does Jehovah's name change from God and then Jesus in the Bible? Aren't these all supposed to be considered God? The same God? This is the questions. So Jehovah is one of God's names. If it's one of God's names, then it means that it's one state of man's consciousness. It's one state of man's being. Therefore, he can change, he can morph into another state of being. Is that the reason why there's different names in the Bible, in the biblical story? In the authorized version of the Bible, it is improperly translated the Lord. I'm going to read this again. In the authorized version, it is improperly translated the Lord. And that the Lord is in quote. The Lord which is an improper translation. In the American Standard Version, the name Jehovah is given where Jah occurs in the Hebrew text. And it says, see Exodus 2 or 6, 2, 3, 2 and then 3, and then Psalms 83 and 18. So metaphysically, Moses says in Exodus 3:14 and 15 that Jehovah told him that his name means I am that I am. Hebrew students say that the original word JH, that the original word is JHVH, earth, water, wind, and fire. See what I'm saying? So, which means that the ever-living male and female in Hinduism, in Hinduism, you can understand this as the Atman Brahman principle. The Atman, or the spiritual self, unifying with the Brahman, or the universal soul of the spirit self. The unification of Atman and Brahman, or the unification of the masculine and the feminine, which means the ever-living male and female principle, or the I am principle, the I am that I am, or the Jehovah principle, the elemental principle of being. So Lee's Hebrew lexicon identifies this name with Christ as the manifestation, the idea coming into manifestation, the light coming into being of God, the divine mind, that speaks to patriarchs and prophets. Now, you have to understand that these patriarchs and prophets are the spiritual faculties, the chakra system within your body that must be spiritualized, that must be union, taken away from the physical, or the physical sense conscious perception, and then refined with the spiritual conscious perception. So Jesus confirms this in Matthew 22:42 through 45, where he reveals that the Christ existed before David, whose son he was supposed to be. In the Old Testament, the spiritual I am is symbolically described as Jehovah. In the New Testament, it is called Christ, or well, I would say Christ consciousness. So the Amen Ra principle, the Atman principle, the higher self principle is in all human beings, the Christ man, the cosmic man, the higher self. All of these explanations are explanations for this principle, this I am that I am principle, this I am, I was, I will be, because I am, I was, I will be, the power to be eternally I. That's what that means. Wind, water, fire, earth, and air. So creation originates and exists in divine mind, God, even Allah, the divine mind, the higher self. In the creative process, divine mind first ideates itself, or has an idea. In the scriptures, this idea is named Jehovah, meaning the I am, the ever-living, he who is eternal. The creation is carried forward through the activity of the Holy Spirit, or the activity of the spirit of the mind, the spirit of that idea, which animates into the cosmos physically. So the higher spirit of man is the divine spark, that which is eternal. So the Hebrew word Jehovah has been translated Lord. Lord means an external ruler. Bible students say that Jehovah means self-existent one. Then instead of reading Lord, we should read I am. It makes a great difference whether we think that I am, self-existence, is within, or Lord, master, which is without or outside of you. That's the concept we're speaking here, metaphysically. Inside or outside. Physical or metaphysical. What are we talking about here? We're just talking about the metaphysics. All scripture shows that Jehovah means, God told Moses it meant, I am. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations. So whenever you read the word Lord in scripture, say I am instead, and you will get a clearer understanding of what Jehovah, in quote, is. So let's see. Now we went over that aspect. Let's see if we can move on. Oh, no, we can't. This consciousness will come through prayer. Okay. This consciousness will come through prayer. What consciousness? The I am consciousness. So let's just read it again, or let's continue going, because this is a deep concept and I want you guys to get this. So if we expect to demonstrate prosperity from without, we find it a slow process. But if we know that the I am is the provider, we have a key to an inexhaustible resource. Guess where this resource exists? Within. God, or the spirit, divine mind, was also known to the Israelites as Jehovah Shalom, or I am peace. We can demonstrate peace of mind by holding the words I am peace, with the understanding that the real I am is the Christ man, or Jehovah within us, the Atman, the Adam Kadman. But if we start any demonstration and try to apply the I am to personality, we fall short. This is frequently the cause of failure to get to the desired results from the laws that all metaphysicians recognize fundamentally true. The mind does not always comprehend I am in its highest, neither does it discern that the all-knowing, omnipresent one is within man. This recognition must be cultivated. I'll say it again. This recognition must be cultivated, and everyone should become conscious of the I am presence within. This consciousness will come through prayer, meditation on truth. Now, prayer, we mentioned in the other video, was not just doing this and saying whatever you want to say. Prayer is going within, going into the silence and sitting at the foot of the God within you, sitting at the foot of the altar of the divine mind, the higher self within you, the Atman unifying with Brahman within you. If I take an ice cube and I take a cup and I have water, I put water in the cup and I have ice cube made out of the same water that is in the cup, and I put that ice cube into the cup and it starts melting, what happens? Isn't that same ice cube the same as the water melting into the cup? Now, unless the cup was filled with soda and the ice cube was ice cube, then that's a different story. But now understand this metaphysical concept within yourself. The God, which I'm speaking here, the I am, the divine mind, as well as the self, whatever I am is just like the whole practice of meditation is to be the ice cube, to melt oneself back into that which you are naturally, to become that ice cube, and then to become the water in the cup, and then to empty the cup, become the space in the cup. Metaphysical concept. The mind does not always comprehend the I am in its highest, neither does it discern that the all-knowing, omnipresent one is within man. This recognition must be cultivated, and everyone should become conscious of the I am presence. This consciousness will come through sitting at the foot of God within and meditation on the truth. The truth means the absolute principle of your being. So to meditate on that absolute principle of your being is just like an ice cube being put into water and melting, though you are both the water and the ice cube. So melt back into your higher self. Another metaphysical concept. So let's see here. In truth, there is but one I am, or there is but one divine mind, Jehovah, that I am omnipotent, I am mine. So if you take the word Jehovah Shalom into your own mind and hold it with the thought of a mighty peace, you will feel a harmonizing stillness that no man can understand. So it's beyond man's intellect. It's beyond his comprehension. It's gnosis, meaning wisdom or knowledge that goes beyond comprehension. Wisdom or knowledge that you can't read in a book. Wisdom and knowledge that you can't just get from talking to someone about it. And that's metaphysics. That's true metaphysics. Going to the state of no thought, going to the state of no self. You want to talk about you have worldly wisdom? Go to the state where you have no wisdom. So it is the thought. So it must be felt, realized, and acknowledged by your I am before the supreme I am can put it out its power. After experiencing it, you know that you have touched a divine something, because you cannot explain it to another just what it is, because you have gone beyond the realms of the world and made union, or you melt that ice cube with the cause side of existence. It is the quickening of your divinity through the power of the word, or that idea in the mind, in the body, and in the spirit. The divine nature is in all of us, waiting to be brought into expression through our recognition. Realize the divine mind. Why do I say that? Because the divine nature is all within us, and it's waiting for us. It's waiting on us. It's waiting on us to be brought into expression through the recognition of our power and our might of the I am. So this is the metaphysical concept that one must seek as far as understanding the biblical perspective and what these things mean, the names of the people and the concepts in which they're trying to describe. Now, I believe that will be it for today's show, today's broadcast, today's live expressions, today's live teachings. So please return. We like your presence. We like those of you who leaves us comments, and also those of you guys who, you know, has any questions that you want asked or answered. You know, we didn't. Hopefully, we got to answer some of your questions that wasn't mentioned in any of the boards in which we use to cultivate the questions. But hopefully, by watching this video, you guys got something that you can use today on your own spiritual growth and your own spiritual journey. And we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and peace and blessings.